when was something written negatively about you? Did that affect you?
Like brother said, I didn't really listen to the radio a lot. I didn't, in the paper, didn't really have time to read the paper. I was really, invested in, my job, being a guy who, came in this league as undrafted and came to Chicago and had a great opportunity and, felt like I made the most of it. I was just focused on my job. And, for me, I never cared about what the outsiders were saying. My thing is I always cared about my play because I wanted to make sure that my teammates valued what I was doing. You know what I mean? So, I played for myself, but I also played for my teammates, and the bond and brotherhood that we had in that locker room, it was bigger than just being teammates. We were like family. So, for me, in the backfield, if I didn't make my block, I was pissed because, I let Thomas Jones down. I let Cedric Benson down. I let Adrian Peterson down. So that's the way I approached everything. That's the way I approached my preparation. That's the way I approached the game in practice.
How'd you two become close as teammates, a fullback and a center?
Yeah, I remember the first time I met Brother O, I came to Chicago. And I actually came training camp. They were in training camp for about a week. So I got here late. And I remember I was being taped in the training room and I'm getting taped and, Brother O's in the training room and he's in there, he's talking and he's cracking jokes and he's being Brother O. And I'm thinking, man, like, man, who is this guy? Like, he's cracking jokes and nobody's really cracking jokes back at him. I'm like, who is this dude right here? Right? So I'm getting taped and Brother looks at me and I'm like, oh, why is the dude looking at me? And he goes, Tim Breen was our head athletic trainer back then. And he says, hey, Breen. He says, hey, where do we get this guy right here? Where do we get this guy? Prison? I was like, oh, man. And I was mad.
Hey, man, you was mean mugging everybody. That's why I was wondering where you were from.
Hey, John, I was just saying, I was new. So, I'm scoping out. I'm a very observant person. So I'm scoping the scene out. And he goes, where did they get this guy? Prison? So I was mad and I wanted to say something back, but it was so funny. I just had to laugh. And I was like, man, okay. I was like, this guy is the alpha male of the locker room. So that was my first interaction with Brother O. And, obviously, a fullback, we're like a pulling guard in the backfield, man. So, the funny thing is on our team, the backs and the offensive line was really close. We're always together, and we always would crack jokes in the huddle. Myself, Thomas Jones, Olin, and Brother Rube, and we just had a tight bond, and it just continued to grow. And Brother O, like I said, what people don't realize about Brother O is he's one of the most honest people that I know, but he's one of the most giving people that I know. A lot of things that people don't see, he gives back his time. I mean, he's training people. I mean, he's always making himself available to help people. And I think that's what, people that don't know Brother O, they don't realize that about him. He's got a great heart and, he's tough. He's tough as nails, but he's got a great heart. And I think that's why, our friendships continue to grow. And, we had all the time, we crack jokes and he's honestly like a big brother. He's like the big brother that I never had.
Man, he's trying to ruin my reputation, John. In one swing, man.
They're going to be trying you on Twitter now.
I'm not a good guy. I don't have a big heart. Don't believe that stuff. But obviously, like Mckie is saying, he gets there in 2003. He's an undrafted guy. We are a power run team. Listen, we used to look up. Mckie can attest to this. Thomas Jones can attest. Anthony Thomas from back in 2002 can attest to this. When we looked up Cedric Benson, it was goal line, right? Guys didn't respect our pass game. People didn't really respect our quarterbacks too much. So it was kind of like we had to put our hard hat on, and we were going to get yards no matter what they lined up in, no matter what they tried to take away. I remember when I got to New Orleans, I looked up and I thought to myself, where is everybody? Because with Drew Brees, they don't have to stack the box, right? I remember telling the New Orleans offensive line, like, you guys don't really play in the real NFL. If you play with Drew Brees, this is easy. But obviously, you can't help but respect J-Mac. Everybody knows. He gives his time to the kids. He's a coach at Carmel Catholic. He teaches football. He has a gym. He's always teaching people, always helping, always promoting the game. He's always giving back. And just the way, as far as just respecting him when he played, nobody worked harder. Nobody studied the game more, was willing to do special teams, was willing to block somebody, whatever he had to do to help us win the game. So my respect and admiration for him obviously started there. After football ended, we would meet up sometimes and we would box at my gym or his gym. We just had that in common, gyms and working out and training and boxing. And we would always talk football. We would always talk about football and what the Bears were doing. And at that time, I was doing a bunch of radio and TV before I got fired, obviously. But J-Mac, I thought to myself, if I ever do a podcast, this is the guy. This is the guy I want. It's really nice to talk to somebody who's actually done it, who's actually coaching the game, actually played the game, actually understand what it takes. So that's why we really enjoy just talking the game. Our admiration for the game, our love for the game of football, I hope comes out in our podcast.
What more do you expect from the podcast?
We really just, what we expect is what we're giving the fans. So we don't have like expectations for it. We expect to be honest. We expect to say what we see, no matter how people react to it. This is really when I'm talking, I won't speak for J-Mac, but this is really what I see. This is what I see on film. This is really what I think is going on in the building. And that's all I expect when we get the microphone. And then it's kind of grown into, hopefully giving advice to younger football players about playing more sports. Don't get tied up into one sport. How to play football, how to work, how to get better at the game of football. And then, J-Max had a great idea about shining more light on high school football in Illinois. So those are some of the things we expect from the podcast.
Yeah, and the funny thing, John, too, is, when people listen to our podcast, what they don't realize is, the interaction between me and Brother O, it's like we're talking in the locker room. So we actually have a podcast before that's really not even recorded, because we talk about so much football before we hit record, before we hit record on our podcast. So it's just like us being in the locker room again. And for us, we love football. Like I said, Brother O, he watches film all the time. I watch film all the time. I'm texting Brother O, bouncing ideas off of him about my team. He's sending me ideas. We're just football guys. And I think when, you retire, some guys retire and they want to get away from the game completely. We retired, right? But this is our way of continuing to be close to the game. So if we can give our honest assessment and views about the Chicago Bears and give back to the Bears fans, that's what we want to do, because, we have a huge respect for the Bears fans, obviously. And I say it all the time. This is one of the best cities that I've ever played in, with the best fan base. And we're thrilled to be able to interact with the fans. Brother O is always tweeting back with the fans. I'm tweeting back with the fans. And, we just want to give back and just show our admiration for the Bears as a whole, but also build a bigger connection with the fans in general.
How nice is it to be independent and not be indebted to a company or, somebody telling you what to say?
That's huge, man. It's huge to just be free to just talk and give your ideas and not worry about, like you're saying, did you offend somebody? Is it right to say those things? And to actually give your opinion on what you think is going on. Like J-Mac said, to be honest, we always laugh about it, because George said you should take what I say with a grain of salt. And he's right, because the podcast we do before the podcast, that would be the one without the grain of salt. So that would be the one that's really, really what we think. To be honest with you, we give you as much as we can, but we try to water it down in case there's any young kids listening or other people listening to the podcast. But we love coming on there. And it's almost like therapy for old ball players, to talk football, to give your ideas, to talk about what they should do to fix their team, what should do to fix their offense, because we feel like we're kind of untapped resources, right? That we do know, how to develop a young football player. I would argue that J-Mac knows more about developing their young fullback blasting game than anybody in the Hallis Hall. So, like they did have credit to them. They did reach out to see Peanut Tillman talking to the team. We talked about in the last podcast. Nobody better to talk to the team, but there are a lot of untapped resources in the Illinois, Chicago area that you feel like you can help the young guys, help the team. And that's why, like J-Mac said, with our gyms, I have a lot of young offensive linemen that come through, and you're just trying to help them develop their game.
Yeah, I think, just going back off of Olin says too, I'll go into the high school aspect. We talk about a lot of high school football. Obviously both his boys played at Loyola, had a lot of success over there. Holisek's a great coach there. And, me being a new high school coach and, I'm seeing, living now, not seeing, but living on a day-to-day basis, what these guys do, right? In terms of what they do for the kids. Like, they really help mold these kids into men through the game of football. And I think a lot of times it goes unnoticed. These guys aren't making millions of dollars to coach, but the task that they have at hand, it's a ton of stuff. I mean, you're the equipment manager, you're the mentor, you're the father figure, you're the coach, you're a lot of things. You hold many hats as a high school head coach. And that's why, me and Brother O, like to highlight high school football. And we'll have a segment, coming soon where we're going to actually start highlighting high school coaches, right, to highlight what they do, right, because they're so important in shaping our future. They're going to change the trajectory of young men's lives. And, if you're just a good coach, then you failed as a coach, right? You got to be a game changer. You got to be a life changer. And that's what I've tried to do. And I know a lot of these coaches here in Chicagoland do the same thing. So I respect all of them. I'm going to go against a lot of them this fall, and, no holds barred. But at the end of the day, when we shake hands, I respect each and every one of them because of what they do in terms of helping our young kids become men.
Olin Kreutz and Jason Mckee here on WCKG Sports Talk Chicago and the No Name Football Podcast. Guys, what are the best moments you've had individually playing football?
Well, okay, I go first, I guess. Just a lot of great moments. I think the first one I'd say is me as being an undrafted free agent, making my first roster and starting my first NFL game. I grew up in a military household, and my dad was real strict, so I tell everybody, the first NFL game I ever went to was one I played in. So it was that was a huge accomplishment for me. And then obviously going to the playoffs for the first time in 2005. And then obviously that culminating in us going to the Super Bowl in 2006. But, being able to have that moment and achieve that pinnacle, but being able to achieve that pinnacle with the guys that we had in that locker room, the brotherhood that we had, and seeing firsthand the sacrifices and commitment that everybody made as a whole in order to get there. I think that's something that, I'll never forget. And that's something that, I'm most proud of.
Yeah, I think for me, we ended up winning St. Louis High. I went to St. Louis High School in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's a powerhouse there. Cal and Ron Lee were our coaches. Winning 3 state titles while I was in high school was obviously amazing, man. And then, I get to go on the University of Washington, play football games there, go to bowl games. And I actually got to play in the same stadium I played high school in. Was my last bowl game. We played Michigan State. We played Nick Saban, University of Washington versus Michigan State. So I got to go home for my last college game and play in front of my friends and family. Obviously, I think it was like J-Mac, it was like 800 tickets, man. Like, remember you just had to write in everybody's name?
Yeah.
That was crazy. So that was a moment I'll never forget. And then obviously you get to the NFL, you play games, but I got to go home and play a Pro Bowl in the same stadium in front of my family and friends. And that's amazing for me. And then J-Mac talked about getting to the playoffs. We got there in 2002. We lost to the Eagles. We got there in 2005. We lost to the Panthers. In 2006, working your way to the Super Bowl. That season was kind of a dream, man. I know it was. I think we went 15-3 in all games we played in. So, the last game we really didn't play, so that loss to me doesn't really count. But obviously, losing the Super Bowl stings. It still hurts today, man. But like J-Mac said, going to the Super Bowl, watching Virginia McCaskey hold her dad's trophy on that stage at Soldier Field with the snow coming down. There's never been a better moment than that, right? I mean, that was an amazing moment for me in my football career. So there's been so many moments in football. The game has been so good to me that, like J-Mac said, that's why you keep trying to get back to the game.
Olin, do you think you're a Hall of Famer?
It's a hard question because I think if you're a Hall of Famer, you don't have to answer that question, right? I think other people say it for you, and hopefully you get into the Hall of Fame. I know I'm the only guy on the 2000 all-decade offensive line that is not in the Hall of Fame. So that is for other people to decide. That's not for me to decide. Do I feel like I played on a Hall of Fame level? Obviously, if you ask the guy, yes. I feel like I was a good football player. I feel like I was a good center. I feel like I played a lot of games. I went 9 years without missing a game. I feel like I was a dominant center for a long time. I felt like I was the highest paid center in the league almost the whole time I played, which says something for who people think was the best center at that time. But like I said, I know I'm giving my argument anyway, but like I said, I never really get into that because I feel like if people feel like you're a Hall of Fame center, you don't have to say it.
Yeah, I think too, John, like, brother, I always say the same. I always tell brother, man, you're gonna be a Hall of Famer. And he doesn't like to comment on it. But I say this, right? Ask the guys who he played against. Is he a Hall of Famer, right? And 9 out of 10 of them guys is gonna say yes, right? The guy who says no, he's probably gonna say no because he got his ass whipped. You know what I'm saying? But ask 9 out of 10 guys, in terms of the preparation, right? In terms of what Olin did, in terms of his leadership and the way he upheld the culture on our team. You know what I mean? I'm a huge advocate of obviously being his teammate, but I'm not being a homer, but I see what he did firsthand, right? Olin's making the checks on offense. He's making all the checks. He's the first guy in the weight room, right? He's out at practicing like we're playing a playoff game, right? He was a pro's pro, and a lot of us in that locker room, and I can attest for all our teammates, and I'll speak for them on this right here. Olin was a consummate pro, and a lot of guys tried to emulate what he did on a daily basis. And then on Sunday, his body of work speaks for himself. So is his body of work a Hall of Fame body of work? Without question. But we can go even further. Ask anybody who's lined up against him whether or not he's a Hall of Famer, and there's your answer.
How would it feel, Olin, to get in at some point?
To be honest, John, I mean, it feels amazing just because I love the game of football, right? But I think at some point, you wanted more for your family to enjoy, for them to, so you can actually get to the stage and thank everybody who helped you get there. That, I think, would be the moment that would be the reason I would love to get in the Hall of Fame. So you could stand on that stage and roll through all the people who helped you and thank them and just say thank you because no one does it by themselves. The game is too hard. There's people supporting you all along the way. And then you finally get a moment in front of the, football world and in front of them on a stage to thank them. That's why I think it would be important.
Let me ask you two this. This might be a personal question. Who were the easiest players for you guys to overcome in a matchup when you played?
Oh, man. Well, for me, I mean, nobody really. Everybody was good. We were in a tough division, and brother, he'll speak about this when he goes. But I mean, we played some tough defenses, man. I mean, Detroit had a great defense. They may not have had the record to show it, but they had a tough defense. I mean, Green Bay was always good. Minnesota had a tough defense. So, we were the NFC North, but we were like the black and blue division. Especially, like Olin said, we were seeing 8-man boxes all the time. So we and brother talk about it all the time. Everybody's lined up in the box. So it was a battle. It was war each and every play. So, I never took any opponent lightly. Like I said before, I did my best to make sure that I was prepared. So, it was a great opportunity. It was a way different NFL back then than it is now. And I'll just say that. So I never took anybody lightly.
Yeah, I mean, John, to be honest, it's really not, that question is not a very good question. So let me just say this. Just look at the numbers of how many high school guys actually play college, which, the numbers drop astronomically, and then college guys to the NFL. So I would have to go back and give you names from high school. The last time I thought I had an easy day, and I don't want to embarrass them because they didn't play college anyway. So listen, in the NFL, these are the 0.01% of football players in the world. The backups are the best players in college. The backups were team captains. The practice squad guys were team captains on their college football team. They were all-stars in high school. I never had an easy day in the NFL, man. Never. I mean, I might have told the guy he was easy, but he wasn't. He was tough. I had to prepare for them. I had to study. I remember studying the third-string nose guard and thinking to myself, damn, I mean, where is the break? I remember one time, J-Mac, we went to Buffalo in 2000. Ted Washington was the starting nose guard. Pat Williams, the former nose guard for the Minnesota Vikings, was his backup. That was the longest day I ever had on a football field. Those two guys, I mean, gosh, I left that day. I think I slept for 2 days after that game.
Yeah, I always love the story, brother. You told it on the pod a few weeks back. I forget which pod it was, but you talked about how it went down and played Dallas, and the starting nose tackle was out, and the backup was in, and you're like, wow, you're like, man, I wish the starter
dominate him. Well, that was actually here, right? So Jason Ferguson is a starting nose guard. I'm watching I think they played on Monday Night Football the week before, and I'm thinking, oh, he's out. He blew his triceps. And even our J-Mac, even our game plan that week was to dominate this practice squad nose guard.
Yeah.
And the first time he hit me, I went to the side and I said, this guy's no joke. I don't know who he is, but I'm not going to, we're not going to blow him out of there. Jeremiah Rattler.
Yeah.
He was a practice squad defensive end. They moved him to nose guard. The next year, he was a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
Unbelievable, man.
And that's what we mean, John. That's what we mean, John, by, like Brother O said, the backups are, the best of the best at playing this game in the world. And, a lot of these guys, right, they come in looking for an opportunity. They're thirsty. They're starving to, one, go to the right team, get in the right scheme that's going to give them an opportunity to showcase their talent. So when they get a chance to showcase their talents against a perennial Pro Bowler like a Olin Kreutz, they're going to give you everything they got. And that's
everything, man.
Everything. And that's what we're hoping we see from our Bears team. You're going to have some guys who's going to get every opportunity to showcase their talents, and we just hope they make the most of it.
Guys, before we finish up today, last question. What's the funniest moment that you've been a part of in your career, whether individually or together?
Oh, man. That's
a lot of the funniest moments you can't really talk about on air because, they were on buses and we had so much fun. We used to play Welcome to Jamrock in the locker room. And whenever that song would hit, we would all trash the locker room and people would dance. And guys like Lance Briggs would do the dolphin dance. And Mike Brown would yell, rewind. And that was a fun and funny moment. For me on a football field, one of the funniest moments was I remember Jay Cutler getting hit. I mean, he almost got killed from the backside on a sprint. And then I caught the ball and I thought I was going to score, but then I realized how slow I was. But in my mind first, J Mac, I was like, I'm gone. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I'm going to house this. And obviously I got tackled, I think, for a -1 yard gain. And I blamed the rest of the offensive line. I told them, if you guys would have just blocked somebody, I was going to the house, man. But that was one of the funnier moments for me.
Yeah, like Olin said, there's a lot of funny moments, man. We had I was blessed to be with such a great group of guys who had, obviously we worked hard, but we played harder. And, just in terms of our meeting room, our running back meeting room was straight comedy. We got our work done. We had the guys with a lot of personality in that meeting room. So, we always, when we all get together, that's the first thing we talk about, bring up things in the past. Our position coach, Tim Spencer, was great. He made sure we knew what we were supposed to do, but he had a sense of humor. And it just made going to work fun. And you're in a great environment when, I can recall, on Saturdays was a quick walkthrough. And if we had a home game, you'd have to be down at the hotel later on in the evening. And, after the walkthrough, a lot of guys would just stay in the locker room. We would stay up at Hallis Hall until about 1 or 2 o'clock. I mean, that's how much fun we were having. Guys didn't want to leave. And that just shows you, the commitment, the compassion, the brotherhood, the culture that we had in that locker room. When you have guys that genuinely love each other as people, not just players, well, you see the success that we had on the field. So there was a lot of great moments, moments that, we miss and cherish to this day. And that's why, me and Brother O, we connecting to do this podcast, because it brings us back to moments that we had in the locker room and out there on the field.
Well, Olin, Jason, thank you guys so much for joining me. Best wishes for the No Name Podcast here on WCKG and moving forward, and looking forward to this Bears season and hearing your guys' opinions and takes on what's going to be happening.
All right, John. Appreciate it.
John, thanks for having us on. Thanks for putting us on your radio station, man. We look forward to the No Name Football's podcast partnership with you guys.